All right, hello, my name is Shannon Gunn, and today I'm going to give you a lesson on long tones. Before I start, please make sure you subscribe and also click on the little bell for the alerts. If you hate your long tones, then I have an awesome exercise for you, and it's called Velvet Tone Number 1. And this is something I've been doing for decades. I love my horn, but I really feel like the tone is something that you hear no matter what horn or whatever, mouthpiece you're using. I'm just using a Yamaha 48. So I just use the horn as a vehicle, but what I hear is what's in my head. And it's really important to try to keep up with your long tones as much as you can. And so my hope is to create something that's actually fun for people to do. So I'm going to give you some things to think about when you go through this exercise. The first is you have to be really, really aware of your air. And you have two kind of parts to your air system. You have chest air and then stomach air, which is coming from, is being supported by the diaphragm. So you'll hear about having air support and more support and taking bigger breaths and getting all that under control. But the great thing about the long tones is that it really helps you to control that air, and not only how steady the flow is, but also how fast it is. So when you're blowing, as you play your notes, you want to keep a steady airflow the entire time. And as you blow louder, you're going to, increase the air. So I'm going to give you a little demonstration of that. This is kind of maybe a little too beginner, but, just keeping in mind how it's going to look. If you put a paper up next to your breath, okay, you want it to be steady. You don't want it to be like, okay, that was an exaggeration, but you want it to be steady. So there's a point where you're going to switch between chest air and stomach air, and that's going to cause you to drop the air when you take that switch. So you have to become aware of that. And then you want to keep the sound steady so that your tone is steady and so that you stay in tune the entire time. So I'm going to give you a little game to play with that tuning part later on. But I wanted to just show you this part where, I go through this with my students and I just show them the piece of paper trick. And basically you want to try to get it to the point where you're going to play really loud and you're going to take a deep breath, use all your air, but you're going to keep a steady airflow like this. If I let it drop at the end, it would look like this. Or it would look like... And that's kind of like the difference between the chest air and the stomach air. I don't know if that was a good demonstration, but basically I want you to become aware of that and keep it steady the whole time. Then, while you play, in order to be able to sound as good as possible, you want to try to stay in tune. And so this exercise is a challenge because I have everybody starting at piano, going all the way to fortissimo, and then back down to piano. So what you can do, and what I will do for myself, is to put up an app called the Tonal Energy Tuner. And that app has a smiley face when you're in tune. You can set the settings to be like super, super fine tuning versus just kind of basic tuning. You can set it to well-tuned or equal temperament. But either way, if you get the smiley face, that's a good thing. And it has this little smiley face that has a open mouth smiley when it's in tune for more than a certain amount of time. So the goal I always do when I do this little exercise is to play the sound with a steady stream of air in tune from piano to fortissimo back to piano again. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you. Here's what I'm playing, Velvet Tone Number 1, and I will probably figure out how to embed that into the video. 2, 3. So you get the sense of it. So I'm doing gamification and keeping it in tune, starting as soft as possible, getting to as loud as possible, back to as soft as possible. So I hope that helps as a demonstration. And like I said, there's a YouTube link for the actual exercise. And if you'd like to download the PDF, you can do that on my website, shannongunn.net. All right, I hope this is helpful and makes your long tones at least bearable, if not for the cheesy drum track.